let's think about particle wave duality. And then, let's get a little crazy and think about string theory too. Let's overlap that concept. And then let's use our minds as a lens. And then, we were really big on telescopes. We love them things. But what if our minds was also a telescope? Just a mirror in and of itself, to explain the concept of evolution through the idea of particle wave duality that we didn't understand, because how can we be both a particle and a wavelength? Well, it makes perfect sense to me, because humans are that. Like, moving past that, then you wonder about chaos and understanding all that situation, and that makes sense too, because chaos is only chaos when you don't understand the narrative. And then it's like, well, we can't understand past two choices. But yeah, we can if you use everything as a lens. Now, the lens here is a conceptual one. It's like a telescope. You understanding the concept of duality in humanity, but also our concept of existence. Everything comes down to two choices half the time. Or not even half the time, all the time. But we get super confused when we have to integrate more. And then we utilize the universe to answer a lot of questions. But now we got to wrap that shit back around. Because the concept of string theory is everyone thought it was a line. It was a circle that wraps around. But then we have to understand, how can we compromise it with, ethics and morals and religion. But then when you think about art and the conceptual narratives that have always been written, well, then it comes down to one of two choices. And you can see positive and negative. You can notice it. We feel it. We see it. People talk about it all the time. It's all these esoterics. But it's not. Like, it wouldn't be prevalent if it wasn't felt. There wouldn't be entire areas of market dedicated to the study of people and their interactions with themselves. Like, we know what classical and operant conditioning is, but what we didn't understand is that, we're doing it all the time, every day, all day. We are constructing narratives. And the multiverse wasn't just in the universe, it was us. The multiverse was here, but it was just on the planet. But that's something that we cannot get around. But to me, it makes sense, because it should make sense to anyone, because as all science, as all discoveries, this shit was just found. The stuff that produces, or when I say discoveries, I don't mean everything is a one-to-one, and that is an issue with our consciousness as a whole. We have this need to make things a duality, which doesn't make sense to me. Because, well, then we come to what is called the three-body problem. But then in my head, I'm like, the moon's been there. It done been there. But then you overlay different things going back to casuistry. I know I'm all over the place. And that's fine. That's okay. That's good. But I'm going to get somewhere. And some people will get it, some people won't. But ultimately, everyone will, because it's fucking hilarious. Now, sorry for that. I don't know what that's going to do. It is what it is. So you use, you overlay concepts on top of each other. So, you utilize the concept that we know, which is that light has what light is. Then also, what light can produce. Light is there. Light connects the universe to us, but we believe it's gravity. We can't solve for gravity. Well, you know what? Here's a funny thought. The gravity was just Earth altogether. The gravity of the situation was just that we had to understand people. We had to create a model and a roadmap for people, but we have it. We've literally been living 300,000 years of it. I mean, what if I told you, and here's, what, I'm going to get a little nuts. So let's get nuts. I mean, I'm already pretty nutty. Like, look at me go right now. I did this because I studied psychology. I wanted to find out why I was so fucked here. But then, why is everyone? It's all these esoterics, and I went to therapy and I was explaining to the therapist what their job was without knowing it, just because I was studying it when I was young. But what I didn't realize is that the more information I put in my head, the stronger I became at creating cycles and narratives to produce the results that was being created by my mind. Here's a crazy thought. What if you created a suit of armor for yourself that protected you because of trauma, but you outgrew that armor, but you don't know how to take it off, and you get stuck in it, and it hurts, and you keep growing, and it does not. Eventually, your body just kind of distorts and gets used to it, because we've had studies of that. But the mind's doing the same thing as the body. It's all a direct representation, but it's esoteric in nature. It's a concept. It's using your thought to think. I know it's a weird thing. Thought to think's kind of awkward, but well, it's whatever. But when you realize the overlapping images, and then you see the mathematics of human calculus, there's infinitely more information that I cannot put into this right now. And as it stands, all I'm trying to do currently is to just get something out there that is that starts a narrative, because that is how the mind works. So when you build something constructed off of fear, that is the thing. Okay, so overlapping another narrative, fight or flight human response in our consciousness, in our minds, does this stuff to protect us. It's all a two-party system. Everything is a duality right now, but it doesn't have to be that way, because now you understand that the fear of the universe, which would have been the three-body problem, you utilize that in humanity on Earth. You quantumize it that way. Then you study that, and you're like, well, humans are crazy. No, well, it looks chaotic, but with help, which is the only reason I'm making this video, I don't actually care about fame, fortune, money. If that ever happens, all I want to do is fund other people, because that's what matters. Because if I figured out the core directive, then everything else becomes a byproduct. I've been losing weight. I've been happy. I've been upbeat. The people at my job are infinitely happier. Not infinitely happier. When we're there and somebody is there spinning everyone, orbiting, whatever, with positivity. It sounds like really granola mom, but it's there was always something there. We always felt it. And we just couldn't put our finger on it. And that's what light does. It refracts. What if our mind did the same thing? What if our mind was just refracting based off of fear? Because fear is the enemy of hope. And that's positive versus negative, isn't it? That also makes you think, well, what other stuff did we not have the correct frame of reference to deal with? How come we couldn't compartmentalize our subconscious mind with conscious thought? Well, it's because they slip back and forth. You can slip back and forth. It just takes skill. People didn't know what they don't know. But that's obvious when it comes to the esoterics that I'm talking about. and I use those words a lot, just because this is just my first regurgitation of the information. You can just see it in everything. You can see it in history. You can monitor it in human interaction. You can monitor it in love. You can monitor it in everything. You have to just understand the root. You have to keep going back to first principles. But you also have to use the icky things that you might not understand. You also have to realize that you're indoctrinated every day. You continue to indoctrinate yourself. Other people do too. But that's not always negative unless it is. And that sounds really commonsensical, but that is the problem with the difference between intelligence and wisdom for all of us D&D homies out there. Wisdom is the calculus of humanity, and intelligence is the calculus of science. Easy clap. String theory solved. Double slit experiment solved because they were thought experiments. It's pretty easy to me. Now I have to continue to make videos on all the different things that I've started learning and understanding and seeing every day in my interactions and my research and how people have interacted with each other and what they're doing, and the fact that all religions on the planet were just evolution's attempt at self-help books. Like, how funny is that? Let's really think about that. They're self-help books. They all say the same thing, but they were written from different perspectives, in different places, with different narratives, but an underlying core goal. It seems to me like a lot of the problems that people have with any concept of religion just comes from a lack of understanding of the perspective, and then an overly literal interpretation. The need for things to be a direct one-to-one. That's confusing to me as a person. Like, how does that happen? How did it actually happen? Is the thing that I'm actually curious about. Like, how did that work? How did we read things on a page and just say, nah, that's it. That's what that is. Like, how did that work?